Join us on a transformative journey of self-discovery, redemption, and faith in Stephanie M. Seaton's The Woman at the Well. This compelling composition underscores the enduring presence of the Lord's boundless love and grace, offering forgiveness and transformation. Don't miss your opportunity to discover a path to wholeness, forgiveness, and eternal love. Get your copy on Amazon.com today.
Thank you for tuning in. A live stream new episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show will be starting soon. With your host, minister, and author Stephanie M. Seaton.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. I am so happy that you joined us tonight. Tonight, I have my new friend, author, motivational speaker, life coach, Miss Sherry Buckley Brown. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, Miss Sherry.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, ma'am. It was such a pleasure to meet you. Was that last week? Time goes by so fast. Was that last week?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
2 weeks ago. Yeah. 2 weeks ago, we had the pleasure of being at the famous Doc bookstore for a author expo. And it was amazing having that opportunity to be there. They called it the Spring Fling. And so we happened to be there, and me and Miss Sherry were able to kind of chat a little bit. And I definitely wanted her to be able to come on my platform. She has amazing things going on. Her book, we both served on the same panel, right, Sherry?
Yes, we did.
And they called it Life Stories. And so it was amazing being there, but not only just being there, but being able to talk about your books. When you're an author, it's amazing to be able to write the book, but when you get the opportunity to talk about what inspired you to write it, and when people get to hear the story behind the scenes.
Right.
So I was really happy that, you and I had the ability to be able to talk a little bit about our books, and to be able to, I think when people, you tell me what you think, Sherry, but I think when people hear the story of behind the book, it inspires them more to want to read the book. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you don't really get the whole story. You get a gist of the book, right? Because you either get maybe 1 or 2 pages on Amazon or, Barnes and Nobles, but until, people are curious. They want to know what made you write this book, So I agree. Yeah.
So Miss Sherry is an inspiration. I want to say that. I think you are an inspiration. I think it took so much strength for you to be able to not only be able to move through the things that you went through, but to write about it. And so I want, I want to publicly say that as I listened to you 2 weeks ago and you were telling your story, my heart was moved with emotion. And I just thought to myself, she is brave and strong and courageous. And, I salute you, Ms. Sherry. So thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for putting your journey on paper, because that's what it's about. As authors, we tell stories, and sometimes it's not our story, but when it is, it's even sometimes more difficult, I would find. Do you find
oh my God.
Because it's like, do I want to tell it from my perspective, or do I want to create a character? It's just like, and if it were somebody else, right, Sherry, we just write all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can tell everybody else's business, but when it comes to ours, we're like, oh no, let's hold that tight to our chest.
Right. So listen, we're going to have fun here tonight. We're going to talk about some serious things that are in the book. But we're going to talk about those things in order to shed light, knowledge. But at the end, the big picture of everything is always going to be restoration, inspiration, and grace. And so as we get started, Miss Sherry, my first question I usually like to ask all my guests, will you tell us, Miss Sherry, who is Sherry?
Who is Sherry? So yeah, I'd like to talk about it from like who I really am, because titles, everyone can have titles. Yes, I've written a book, so now I'm an author, right? But I want to tell it from who I really am. And at my core, I am truly a nurturer, and I'm a motivator. Like, it comes natural for me. And so those are two big things that are just in my core. Me being a nurturer, it runs deep, when it comes to my personal life and my friends and family. I'm also a survivor. Like, I've been through a lot of things in this lifetime, and I've had to get back up. So I consider myself a survivor as well.
Yeah. And that's the thing, we all go through things, but how you go through those things is sometimes more important than what you're going through, because if we don't psych ourselves in the middle of crisis, in the middle of the situations, the traumas that we go through, we don't have anything to get to the other side to, and so I think when I say we, I just think people in general, sometimes we need to give ourselves more grace and more credit, for keeping ourselves in the struggle, whatever the struggle might be. It can be anything, but life throws rocks at us.
Life be lifing.
Life be lifing. Yes. I actually have a friend that wrote a book called Life Be Lifing. Life throws some curves at you, and you got to duck and dodge them. But the thing is, we stay in it, and we get up, and we keep moving, and we keep, moving forward. And so, let's talk a little bit about. Well, I want to ask you your favorite scripture, but let me get into this a little bit. What inspired you? Not so much the story at this moment, but what inspired you to put the things that are in your book on paper? What was your inspiration for that?
Right. Well, as we mentioned, life is a journey, and your life is just not linear. It goes ups and downs, valleys, peaks, highs, lows. And so for me, I looked back over my life, and I came to this realization that I was still holding on to trauma that I really hadn't sat in and dealt with. Gotcha. And the book is part of my healing journey. Yeah. But I also wanted to make sure there was light shed on, domestic violence. And I wanted to ensure that I honored my mother and my grandmother. And the biggest thing too, I wanted to make sure that it would help someone in this world, encourage someone to get back up when things got hard.
Yeah. And you've done that, Miss Sherry. And I think, one of the things that you said, you said, I You've done that by being brave and by telling your story. You've done that, and you honor them, daily, because that book. See, the good thing about, and I'll say this, I really enjoy this about being an author is it's therapy for me too. You said that key word. Being able to write my thoughts and my feelings and knowing that it's going to help and inspire somebody by me being transparent.
Yes.
It is such an amazing feeling, isn't it?
It is amazing. It's terrifying too.
Yeah,
it's terrifying because you put your whole self out to this world, which can be really mean sometimes.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. But you put yourself out there and you take off this cloak of armor that you've been wearing for all your life or for years, and then you decide to strip and show your whole self to the world, and it's terrifying, but it's freeing as well.
Yeah.
It's very freeing. Yeah.
I visualized that just now as you were saying that. I was visualizing that. Mm-hmm. That was deep.
I had to take that cloak off. I was choking.
Hey, you and me both. And you and I have similar stories as to what kind of pushed us into writing, because that kind of happened for me too. It started with me just kind of wanting things to go differently in my life. Mm-hmm. And then at church, we were doing a women's book study, and the ladies that was over a particular ministry, she actually asked me to teach the class. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I can help the ladies, Mm-hmm. And the Lord turned around and did a thing on me. He put the mirror in my face. I'm thinking I'm going to help somebody.
Right.
And what the Lord did, yeah. And so what the Lord did is he put the mirror on me. And in the process of me teaching the class, Healing for Damaged Emotions at my church, which is College Hill Missionary Baptist Church, I got healed. I started thinking deeper. I started going back and tracing down traumas, and this healing process took place. Mm-hmm. And I was no longer comfortable with the way things were. And as we began to read the book, I started seeing signs of myself, how I would run from conflict, and I could not use my words, Miss Sherry. It was easier for me to run because of things that had happened to me, in growing up. It was easier to just be quiet or to run, not to actually stand up for myself. I didn't have boundaries. I could not say no without an explanation,
Right.
And so then once I got through that healing journey, I'm sure you probably went through some of these things as well. I learned boundaries. I learned how to say no without giving another explanation. I learned how to be whole and healed and not need anybody's approval. Because listen, if you go through life needing people, to sign off on you and to reassure you, you will be so disappointed, right?
Yes.
But I was that way at one time, that I needed, what am I trying to say? Affirmation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the Holy Spirit came in, and which I already, had the Holy Spirit in my life, but I wasn't allowing the Holy Spirit to fully lead me. I was talking to him when it was convenient, but I wouldn't really ask him what we need to do. It was more like, well, I'm going to do.
Right. That's what he does.
Yeah. And so I thank God for healing, because healing is where it starts. And when I say it, meaning real, true relationship.
Right.
Real, true relationship. Yeah. So you and I both, have been on those journeys, and it pushed us into writing, which is the therapeutic part. And now, I'm sure it's become a passion. You're probably already working on your second work. Are you already working on your second book?
I have an idea already, but I need to get on it, because I'm like, okay, don't wait too long. But I do have an idea. I just want to make sure, when you put your project out to the world, you want to make sure it's for the right reason, and that it definitely will help someone. So that's where I want to come from. Whatever I put out into the world, I want to make sure that it impacts someone in a positive manner.
Oh yeah. We've got a viewer that is chiming in. We'll have people give comments tonight. Hello, Miss Candy Usher. She said, "God evening, ladies." Mm-hmm. Hello, Miss Candy.
Hi there.
She said, Learn to stand on business. That's right. Yes, ma'am. So let's go into this. Let's talk a little bit about family.
Mm-hmm.
Let's kind of start the conversation, Miss Sherry, with what was childhood like when you were growing up?
Yeah. So I come from a family of 5 kids. I'm the baby, if that's what you want to call her, but really, people would probably say no, maybe not. But yeah, I love my brothers and sisters, right? We had some really good times. I do talk about that in the book. I remember, like, I grew up in the Midwest. That's my roots are from Mississippi. And then
Okay.
my parents moved to Wisconsin when jobs were booming and they were trying to make a living for their family. So I was born in Wisconsin. And then after my mom passed, my grandmother said, bring the 3 teenagers to me. So then I
Okay.
grew up part of my life in Mississippi and then the rest of my life where I'm at in the DFW area right now. But I had a good life. Me and my brothers, and we were very close. I had my baby brother he harassed me so bad. But anyway, I loved my family. There's only 2 of us left now. It's me and my older brother. I've lost my 3 siblings in the middle. So that's been that was a healing process as well. Like I said, I've gone through a lot, and so my family's gone through a lot. But
Hmm.
yeah, it was. I'm not complaining about my childhood. I just hate that it went the direction that it went in.
Hmm.
But that's part of what you have to get through in life sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like like you said, life be life, and things
Hmm.
definitely happen. And so kind of take us a little bit. Well, first of all, tell us the title of the book,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I know the book has a lot to do with family.
Hmm.
Um, tell us the title of the book, and then just kind of take your time, and kind of just lead us into the book, and tell us what you would like for us to know about the book, because this deals with a subject of domestic violence, but
Hmm.
yet and loss and grief, but at the same time inspiration and restoration. So I'm yielding the floor to you to
Okay.
present the book
Okay.
to us, so that we have a good understanding of the story.
Okay. Absolutely. Thank you. So the book is called "Who Will Take Care of Me Now," and I titled the book "Who Will Take Care of Me Now" because when I lost my mom, that at that very moment when I knew I had lost my mom, the first thought that came in my mind was, "Oh my God, who will take care of me now?" I was really a mama's baby, really close to my mom, and so I was really devastated um, behind my father's murdering my mom, to just put it out there. So I was really devastated behind that. The family was torn apart. And so the book goes into, so I wanted it to be my story. Like, there were 5 kids, but I wanted this to be how I dealt with the grief and the trauma and overcoming. And
Yeah.
so I start from when I was a little kid. I give, some really funny stories and anecdotes in the book. I go from there to when our family was disassembled and dismantled, and how trauma affects so many people in a family.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it tears up so many generations of families.
Yeah. Hmm.
And so I touch on that. I touch on my high school years and how I it changed my whole trajectory of my life, and how I thought about um, trust.
Yeah.
The simple thing is trust. How I thought about that, and how I um, didn't trust people for a very long time. It took a long time to earn my trust. And I talk about
Hmm.
um, how I used to, kind of get expelled every year because I was determined that no one would ever hurt me, like my dad hurt me. And, so those things are in the book. And I go
Yeah.
from there to when I had to just make decisions. When you are 12, you're a kid still. And, you're not near about grown. And so I talk about how I felt with just losing my house, like, right, your home, your house is all, you don't have that anymore. So it's like you're out there flailing around in the world trying to just figure it out on your own and by trial and error. And I, I made a decision, like, I know I needed to finish my degree. So I was like, I want to overcompensate for all these things and make sure just, corporate America will never get a chance to X me out, because I'm going to get a bachelor's. Yeah, I'm going to get this bachelor's. I'm going to get this master's. I'm going to get every certification that I can get, because that's what I could control. So all the things that I could
I get it.
Yeah, all the things I could control. And then I was just really, it took me a long time to get married later in my life, because I was like, I don't trust men, or, they would act like idiots, and I would just be like, I'm not taking any of this crap. So I got married later in life.
Would you say it was part of the wall you had built because of the life full of traumas that you had went through?
Yeah, I had a fortress.
Sure, I don't. You said a fortress, Jesus.
Fortress.
Hey, listen.
I had a fortress up.
I had one. Yeah, I had one up too. It's still some trees up too, though. But it might not be a fortress anymore, but it's still some trees up.
Those trunks are still there. Don't even play.
Trust me, I get it. I was hearing you say that everything changed. I think that probably stood out, probably for you because you were young. Everything that was comfortable was shaken and taken. Is the best way I could describe it. You lost your mother in a domestic violence situation at the hands of your father. So there you lost your mother and you lost your father all in the same day.
Yep. And family was split. Yeah.
And the family was split. And then you had to go live with your grandmother.
Yes.
In a whole different place. And so what did you do at that time and at that age? Did you begin journaling? Were you journaling at that age, or what were you doing at that time?
Actually, I was not journaling. So it was me and my two brothers, and they were, kind of close in age. So they would really hang out together. So I ended up becoming kind of a loner, back in the room by myself, listening to music, which is why I probably love jazz today, because it calms the beast in me. And I would, I was really angry at God for a long time. So, because I was like, how could, if there's a God, how could, he let that happen? I went through all those emotions. And then I was in the South. So it wasn't like, in a community where you could really have houses that's close to you. So you would have to literally walk, a mile or two to have a friend. So all of that was different. All of that was different. Just to have to go 18 miles to get to McDonald's. It was a really small place. I used to ask my grandmother, like, where'd you find this place? Like, did you just get tired and drop your bags and say, this is somewhere?
I was like, so Sherry, were y'all having house burgers instead of McDonald's burgers?
Oh, girl, yeah. Like, literally. I mean, my grandmother was an excellent cook. Don't get me wrong. But, we were kids. We were like, can we please have Pizza Hut, or, we need a burger, like from a fast food place.
Fast food. Yeah.
So that was whenever we got an opportunity to go to Meridian, that was one of the things we were like, oh, we need to go get some Kentucky Fried Chicken or some Churchies or something to eat. But all of that was an adjustment. So I became a loner. I would listen to music. And then at one point, my grandmother was an avid. She went to church every Sunday, and she played the piano as well. So at some point through the years, I started to pick up the Bible and start to read it again, and started to go back to church. So yeah, you make lemonade out of lemons. There was nothing I could do but try to get on with life.
Yeah. But you had to go through that process, because what happened was real, and it really affected you. And so, and I can identify with that. I went through a stage, Miss Sherry, where I was angry with God. I knew he was real and I knew that he existed and everything, but I did go through a time where I was just like, why do you keep letting all this stuff happen to me? You know,
Right.
like,
Yes.
is this really necessary? You know?
It's like, I wave the white flag.
Yes, white, blue,
I give.
purple, green, all of them. Like
I give.
Isn't there another way to do this? Whatever it is I'm supposed to learn, just let me learn it.
Like, I've learned it. My lumps are big enough. I think I got it.
Listen, yes. But the thing is, because we are rooted and grounded, in the Lord, he allows us his grace and his mercy, right? He allows us
And
to
his
have
spirit.
those moments where he allows us to have those moments where we stomp our feet, we pout, we fall out, we do all those things. But guess what?
Almost.
We still come right on back around. And, that is the good thing about having a loving Savior, is that he understands, he empathizes with us. And
Right.
so you begin to get back in church, you found strength. What kind of, go ahead.
You were going to ask me what? I'm sorry.
I was going to ask you, like, what kind of things did you do once you got back in church? What kind of things did you do that moved you to finding strength?
Yeah. So, well, there's this one, you were going to ask me about a prayer, and there's this one prayer that always would stick with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, change the things that I can, and wisdom to know the difference. I always remember that because I don't know, it was something that said in my soul, it resonated with me. And I also used to say, please let me be able to make a difference in someone's life. I was saying that at an early age. So, when I look back over my life, I have, my sister passed at 40. I took her 2 boys. They were in Wisconsin. Yes, Meridian, Mississippi. You know that?
She said she went to a school out there. Okay. Is that a small place?
Yeah. Well, that's the closest place that had a McDonald's in.
Sherry said, I wanted that McDonald's.
That's when the French fries were really good too. Yeah.
Yeah, because they are not the same now. They're not the same. Yeah, my first job was McDonald's, Sherry. So listen, I like McDonald's too. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I like the serenity prayer as well. My mom used to have a little plaque with the serenity prayer on it. Miss Candy says she was in Navy A school, and it was out in the country too. Yeah. So she knows where you're talking about. But the word of God is, you can find a scripture for anything that you're going through, whether it be loss, peace, whatever you need. The good thing is we can find a scriptural text that will inspire us and motivate us and give us the strength that we need. One of my favorite scriptures is, the righteous man has many troubles, but the Lord delivers the righteous out of all their troubles. Because I think to myself, no matter what, I go through and how tough it gets, the reassurance that I'm coming out, that I'm coming out. And I have had to reassure myself of that many times,
Right.
But we have to, it's a faith walk. Even when things are dark, dark in our lives, we still have to believe that little bitty ray of light that comes in, it can overshadow what we're going through. And we can't let that hope go. What do you say to, there may be children watching, there may be a woman in a domestic violence situation, even a man. I had a show not too long ago where we were actually talking about men that were in domestic violence situation. And we really don't hear a lot about that, Sherry.
No.
But on that particular episode, and that wasn't even what the topic was about, but I had a gentleman that I was interviewing, and we were talking about something else, but he brought out that he had been a victim of domestic violence. And I was just floored. what do we say to people that are facing a situation right now with domestic violence? And what do you say to encourage them if they're listening tonight?
Yeah. I just have to tell people, you have to get out. You have to find a way to get out of the situation, because it won't end up good. And the trauma, like, some people stay in it because they say, I want to stay in it for the kids. And I just wish that I used to wish that my mom would just leave my dad, right? And I mean, this is real talk. And I was the baby of the family, and I would just be like, in my head, I wasn't even 12 then. In my head, I was thinking, we'll be good. Like, and I didn't say this to her. I'm just saying it in my own head, but you have to find the strength to get out of the situation, because the trauma that you have, that impacts your life, will continue to follow you until you deal with it. It will continue to show up in your life until you deal with it. And as long as you're in that situation, it's your self-esteem is low, and you don't see any hope, and it's just a dark place. And there's resources out there for and I'm not saying that it's easy. I'm just saying that you have to dig up the strength and find every piece of strength in you to get out of that situation, so you could be happy. Because life was not meant for you to be. God didn't put us here to be miserable.
Candy said, and that bothers me, that men don't get enough recognition for going through domestic abuse and violence. And that's true. We're definitely not biased on this platform.
And they probably don't even say it.
And you know what? That's what he said. He said most of the time, as a man, they don't want to talk about it because they are expected to be a certain way, and it makes them look weak or less than. Right. And so they don't say anything. But the point was brought up that there is a lot of men. Hello, Miss Tracy. That there are a lot of men in domestic violence situations, and they don't say anything. They're getting killed. They're getting killed just as the numbers are just as high as women, if not more, because they won't speak up, and they won't get themselves out of the situation. And so that's really sad.
It is.
So for domestic violence, I grew up in a home, and it wasn't my parental home, but I grew up in a home with my grandparents. And when my parents got divorced, we moved in with my grandparents, and there was a lot of domestic violence, not so much physical, but mental and emotional trauma. Mm-hmm. And, it was always high alert. Everything was always high alert. So I was a loner as well, Miss Sherry. I spent a lot of time, in fantasy world. When I say fantasy world, like I created worlds way outside of my house. Mm-hmm. I would sit and look out the window for hours just to tune out what was going on, in the house. And I did begin writing, playing with my doll, whatever, but I literally had to create a whole nother world to escape the voices and all the stuff that came along with it.
It creates PTSD.
Definitely had some triggers. I don't do loud talking. I don't, in marriage and in relationship, I do not do loud talking. Like, no, you're not going to talk loud to me. Mm-hmm. You've been through some things, and it's just like some things you're just not going to be tolerated, when you've had to put up with it. I am redoing one of my books right now, Miss Sherry, and I'm redoing my book, The Woman at the Well. And as we're talking, I was sitting here thinking, because we're talking about this domestic violence subject, I was thinking about how sometimes you don't realize, and I think in our culture especially, sometimes we don't realize it's domestic violence because it's become the norm. Yeah. And that's the sad part. That's the sad part, that in our culture, so many things are normal. Talking loud, talking directly, talking aggressive. Mm-hmm. So many things have become the norm that we don't even realize we're being put in a domestic violence situation. When I was growing up, I remember, and I put this in my book, and this is one of the lines I was reading about today. But I remember I would be in the bed asleep, and I would wake up to the smell of smoke. Now, that's not normal, because you wake up to the smell of smoke. Your first thought is what? Your house is on fire, right?
Yes.
Well, no. A particular person in my family would set a towel on fire and put it inside of a aluminum can inside the house while we were all asleep. I know. So you wake up and you're choking and you're gasping and you're in a house full of smoke. And you get to the point this becomes the norm, because this person had this sick idea to do this. And they do this to just torment everybody in the family. Like if they can't sleep, nobody sleeps.
Wow.
And can you imagine waking up to the smell of fire and smoke?
No.
and it becoming normal.
Yeah.
But that's something that, I don't think I'll ever forget that. So the point of what I'm making is it starts out little, what we think are little bitty things, but it moves into the bigger things. And we as people just have to be really careful in relationships, because a lot of times when we're in these relationships and we don't recognize the little things, they turn into humongous things.
Absolutely.
Then we find ourselves years into these situations.
Right.
My grandparents were married for almost 60 years. Because in the culture, and we talked about, I had a show the other night, Miss Sherry, and it was talking about soft Black girl era. And we were talking about how Black women deserve to be loved softly, right? We shouldn't have to wait 50 years, 40 years, 30 years for someone to decide to choose us, right?
Right.
Well, in that same sense, that's why a lot of our mothers and grandmothers and great grandmas, that's why they stayed. Yeah. Because they were impressed and told that's what they were supposed to do.
Right. And what goes on inside this house stays inside this house, right?
Listen.
Yeah.
Listen. Yeah, I have said that so many times. No, it don't stay in the house. It has to stop somewhere. But yeah, that's what we were told. We were told that what happens in this house stays in this house. Yeah. And whatever you think or feel, like pretty much it just doesn't matter. It's just not something we're going to talk about, or we just pretend it didn't happen, which is what happens most of the time. What I found is things that just happen and then nobody talks about it the next day. Was that true for you?
Absolutely. Well, I was just going to ask you, do you know that domestic violence laws didn't go into effect until like 1974?
No, I did not.
Yes, 1974 is when domestic violence laws went into place. And so when all this was happening to my mom, there was no, police would, take the man out of the house, maybe cool it off, right?
Yeah.
But then, he still had access. Right now, of course, you can get, what do you call it, restraining orders, whatever. But sometimes that doesn't even help. But yeah, it's we just have to continue to shed light and do more on this subject, because it's still happening. Every time I hear about a case, I just get chills. I'm like, wow, we're still doing this. It's still happening.
You know what the thing is also that we should probably talk about is the fact that most of the people that have an issue with self-restraint and have issues with inflicting harm on other people, they're troubled people from the beginning.
Absolutely.
They have unhealed traumas.
Yep.
Some of it may be mental health issues. Some of it, I believe, is demonic and spiritual at the same time. But either way, it is all deep-rooted issues, and when things go unaddressed, this is the result. Then it bleeds on everyone else. And
Yeah.
innocent people, innocent people have to suffer the consequences. And so that is why it's so important that we, and I say we, meaning everybody, but especially us, we stop, ignoring mental health issues. Stop ignoring, uncle or aunt such and such is just not quite right. Get them the help that they need. Like, let's stop acting like not quite right is the norm. No, it's not the norm.
I know.
When they go over the top and do something, that affects somebody else, then what,
Yeah. Then families are torn apart. Yeah. It's crazy. So all of that is why I wrote this book. I struggled with, should I do it? What will people say? Why now? Like all of those questions that you have when you start to write a book about things that are impactful and can be hurtful to a family. But my spirit wouldn't leave me alone. It's like, this is your story to tell.
That's what I'm about to ask you. I know how it was for me when I began to write. I had a lot of input, unasked for, uninvited input about my journey. And I want to ask you, did you have unsolicited opinions about what you should do and about your story? Because this is the thing, you don't need permission to tell you.
I would tell them that I am writing a book.
Okay.
But I didn't let anyone read it, right? Like none of my family members. I did tell them, I wanted to make sure that I protected my family, right? So I said, I'm telling this from my side of the story. These are my feelings. This is my story. This is my book to tell, because they can tell their own story, right? It's up to them if they want to tell it or not. I just know what I needed to do, what had been put on my spirit. So they were, so far, they've been supportive. So
yeah, that's a blessing. Yeah. Tracy Cooper says restraining orders don't work. I had a friend get one on her husband and he ended up killing her anyway. Snuck in her house and shot her in the face when she came home. Then he tried to kill himself, but was unsuccessful. He lived, but died in prison. Oh, man.
Wow.
Candy Usher said, I hate unsolicited opinions from family who act like what happened to you should be a secret. Yeah, we talked about that just a few minutes ago. And then, it still goes back to what goes on in this house stays in this house. How many times have we said that, Miss Sherry? That's why that's why they don't want you to write the books. Exactly. Let it makes them, because it makes them look bad. And the only thing that looks bad is that they knew and did nothing. Oh yeah. So I love my family. But I remember when I started writing, people didn't understand. They just thought I was just, I just was trying to get some attention, and it wasn't about attention. It was about, I felt very compelled and led to write the story for the fact of freeing people. One of the things that the Lord told me when I was going through the things and I was asking God, Miss Sherry, on one of my pity parties, and I was asking, why me? Why did you do this to me? Why are you allowing all these things to happen to me? He said, it wasn't about you. He said, it was about ministry. Okay. And so when the Lord showed me that he, how can I minister to broken women if I have not been broken? And so the Lord he showed me he wants more people that are going to be real and transparent, not people that when you say you pray for somebody and then they walk off and you pretend it didn't happen. But he wants people that are going to be real. When somebody tells you they've been in a domestic violence situation, you know what it feels like. When somebody tells you to pray for them, you stop what you're doing right now and you pray for them. Right. A lot of times we're going through the motion because of tradition, right? Tradition says we do this and that, but we don't have heart in it. And I really strongly feel like the Lord wants us to get back to putting heart in the things that we do. And when you write books and when you sing music and you write poetry about heart issues, that's ministry in itself. That is ministry in itself, because you're giving the message that, listen, no matter where you are in life and no matter what is going on, you can get to the other side. And I just love being able to do that and to be able to encourage people. And I don't think anymore about what somebody's going to think about one of my writings, because I've gotten free now. But when I first got started, it was tougher, Miss Sherry. It was a lot tougher. But I thank God for my parents. Both of my parents, you know, it was a little challenging when I started writing, and I wasn't trying to point out that I've had the worst life ever, you know. No, I wasn't. And I'm a mom myself, you know. And if you ask my oldest son or even my youngest one, if he doesn't get his way, you know, buying B books or something, they'll tell you that, you know what, you know, I didn't like mama on this day or that day, or mama did this or mama did that. But you know what I had when I was in my healing process, Miss Sherry, you know what I learned? That we all do the best with the knowledge and information that we have at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, I think if more people gotten to the point that we look at, and even with your mom, you know, we don't know what she went through.
Oh, no. Yeah.
That something inside of her, she needed from that relationship. And it was probably something she lacked or some trauma that she had already been through, you know. But when we get to the point that we can look at the people that necessarily hurt us or allowed us to be hurt, and we can think, oh my God, look what they endured. Look what they went. But yet they did the best that they could, you know.
Exactly.
It's
about forgiveness and being broken, right? And you know, I talk to my brother and my family all the time about let's not die from a broken heart. You know, please, let's find some peace. Because I know all of the ones that went before us is cheering for us to be happy in this world, not to just continue to carry this load that we've already paid the burden for. So let's find some peace. It's priceless.
You've been through enough.
Enough.
Been through enough
in this lifetime.
In this life, and sometimes things happen, and they look like they're going to tear you apart, but they push you closer together. And I will say that, you know, in the beginning, like I said, hello, Miss Evelyn. In the beginning, this rocky thing with this writing thing, right? But now me and my mom have an amazing relationship. Awesome. Me and my dad have developed a amazing relationship. And both of my parents get it now. You know, they both get it that, you know, this is my story. I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm not, you know, shedding light on anybody else's perfections, but this was my real experience. And I have the freedom to be able to talk about that, because that's going to help somebody else, you know?
Absolutely.
And so I'm so grateful and thankful that my parents are supportive. And I have a sister as well. And, you know, they, like I said, you know, it takes time, but just like you were just saying, you know, you have to have that talk with your siblings and everybody get on the page that, you know what, this is a blessing. This is a blessing. And we have to turn things into blessings and not allow the enemy to, you know, to damage or to take away when he's already done enough of that, you know?
And it's time to break the cycle for me. I was like, you know, this cycle has to be broken. It's been going on for generations, years and years and years. And even, you know, after I lost my mom and I saw my grandmother take her last breath, and my sister, you know, passed from cancer at 40. And then I lost 2 brothers to cancer, and I had breast cancer twice, you know, like all these things that almost flattened me. I'm still here.
But God.
But God.
Yes, ma'am. Oh, but God. Praise the Lord, Miss Sherry. Praise the Lord. I think I said in the beginning, I think you are a courageous, brave woman.
Same
and I thank you for sharing your story.
Same.
Many losses. So sorry.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you. I think you're an amazingly strong and brave woman for writing the book. I can't wait to read the book. I have not read it yet, but I'm definitely going to read your book. And I know that whatever your next project is going to be amazing. Tell us, how do we get your book? Are you on Amazon? Where is your book?
Yes. So it's on Amazon, and it's also on Barnes and Nobles online. I have two websites too, but you can't order the book off of that. But if you want to check my website out, it's SherryBuckleyBrown.com. That's the coaching website. And then the author one is SherryBuckleyBrownAuthor.com.
Okay. And then as far as events, what type of events do you have coming up? I know we talked about you being a life coach, motivational speaker. What do we need to know about that? What do you have coming up?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of completing my signature speech and branding. And so what I'm going to do is start to build relationships with domestic violence organizations. I want to make sure the ones that I'm partnering with, we are, aligned. It doesn't matter, either one of those. It doesn't matter what domestic violence organization is, they're doing good work. So I'm going to partner with them. And what I really would like to do is just be able to speak all over the world, touch lives, change lives, and really empower people, which I do a good job of motivating and empowering people and being able to see talent in people who don't even see it themselves. I'm able to really spot that quickly for some reason.
Yeah, but that's a blessing. That's a blessing.
I have some book signings coming up. So yeah, just follow me. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of them.
All right, very good. This has been an amazing interview, just being able to talk to you. Thank you again for being open and vulnerable and telling your story.
Thank
amazing.
You for having me. And sharing your platform. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I knew when we met, I said, she's going to be a friend.
Absolutely.
And we even said that. And I'll be in your area this weekend. I'll actually be in the Dallas area this weekend. I told you I'll stay in Dallas a lot.
Right.
But I'll be there Friday and Saturday. And so I'll reach out to you and see what you got going on.
Okay.
But listen, thank you so much, Miss Sherry. You stay right there. Let me take these last couple of comments that we have. Let's see. Thank you, Sherry. Thank you for tonight. Getting ready to follow you. So some people are looking you up as we speak, and they are following you. Okay, very good. And tell us the name of your book one more time.
It's called Who Will Take Care of Me Now? You'll see it. It looks like this. It's a little white book. And yeah, it's on Amazon, $14.99 for a paperback and $17.99. It's also $17.99 for hardback, and then $9.99 for what do you call it?
That's okay. Ebook. Yeah.
Ebook.
So it's all formats. All formats: ebook, paperback, and hardcover. Okay.
Okay. It's been a long day.
Listen, we both have lost it. But all three formats of her book, check it out. Miss Sherry Buckley Brown, amazing woman. She's got a lot of good things coming up. I want to thank you all again for watching the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. Our new schedule is Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. So we will be back again on Thursday night with another amazing guest. And then audio. Do you have your book in audio? Someone is asking, is your book in audio?
No, not this one. Everyone's like, why don't you do it? I'm like, what's this? My first time out the gate. Next time.
Well, you know what? I will say this though. A lot of times when they buy them from Amazon on Kindle, they play audibly, because my books play audibly on Kindle. So on Amazon, if you do Amazon Kindle, it should play audio. So it should be. Okay. All right. Stay right there, Miss Sherry. We're going to get ready to close out. And thank you again, everybody. We will see you again on Thursday night.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.